Hello everyone! Today we are bringing back the bob for the summer. This time we're doing these fun boho lemonade braids and they came out so adorable. This style is also budget friendly and you know the bob is going to eat every single time. So let me show you how to do it yourself. Alright, so to begin, I'm starting with blow-dried hair, and for my products, I'm using this Expression braiding hair in the color 2. We're doing a bob today, so I'm just using this 38-inch length today, and I use just over 1 pack of this hair, so you would need to get 2 packs. And then for the curly pieces, I'm using the Sensational Deep Bulk Human Hair Blend in 18 inches, and this is my go-to hair for boho braids because it's cheap, the hair is soft, and it honestly doesn't tangle too bad. It only costs $18, and I didn't even use a full bundle, so I can save the rest for another style. Now onto the first step of this style, we're going to do our parting. So first you'll need to part the front section from ear to ear just like this, and we're going to save this part for our cornrows later. Now the rest of our hair will just be regular single braids, so I like to part all of my rows first so that I can make sure it's all laid out properly. And I just like to use my 3-way mirror to see the back of my head, or you could also set up a camera and screen share it to your TV or your laptop to see the back of your head that way too. And for this hairstyle, I was going for small parts. So you'll see this section under my ears is going to be 3 rows. And you'll also see after I part each row, I like to flat twist it to keep it secure and out of the way. And I just repeat this all over my head until I'm done. And I'm a firm believer in doing my parts first. And you guys see me do this all the time because like I say, this is truly the most stressful part of doing your hair. So doing it first when you have the most energy is key in my opinion. So you'll see in total, I had 9 rows. And unfortunately, my comb didn't make it through the process, but you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. All right, now moving on to step 2, we're going to do our single braids, and I'll show you guys a technique for doing short braids on long hair. Because as you can see, my natural hair is going past the braids, right? But don't worry, we're not cutting any inches today. We have a technique for this. So I'm starting off with a traditional box braid as usual. I have some more in-depth tutorials on how to box braid, but as always, I like to describe it like you're pinching the braiding hair with your natural hair and then sliding your pointer finger through on one side to part and grab some hair and then braid it in, and you just repeat that until the root is nice and secure. And then next I'm adding in a piece of that curly hair. And when you do this, you want to make sure that the side with the straight end is shorter and the curly end is long. So I like to line up the short end with the middle strand of the braid, and then the long end is lined up with one of the outer strands of the braid. And then you just continue braiding the hair together like this. And I like to braid it down a couple of times before I take out that long curly piece to make sure it's really secure. And so you can see here, I just pop out that curly end and then continuing to braid down. And that's all there is to it for adding in the curly piece. And now this is the tricky part, so make sure you pay attention. We're going to fold up our natural hair to make it shorter. So first things first, I like to apply a good amount of gel to my hair to keep the strands together. And you want to try your best to keep your hair separate from the braiding hair because then it's going to get mixed in and it's going to be a little confusing. So you want your hair to be nice and isolated for this step. And then what you'll see is I'm going to fold my hair and bring the ends upwards like this. So now the ends of your natural hair is going to be a part of that outer strand on the right. And then this loop here is going to be a part of this other outer strand on the left. And I'm not going to lie, it's a little hard gripping the hair here. And this was my first time trying this technique, so it's not perfect, but all you need to do now is just continue braiding like normal. And then you're going to repeat this step 1 or 2 more times to make sure that every single piece of your natural hair is folded up. So here I am repeating this 1 more time on this small piece of my natural hair, and it got a little mixed in with the braiding hair, but that's okay. So I just folded the hair up, and that loop part is going to be a part of this outer strand on the left, and the ends will go into that other strand on the right side. And then you just keep on braiding. And you can also use some more gel here to keep everything smooth, and just try your best to tuck that loop into the braid so it's not sticking out or anything. I noticed here that it was kind of sticking out a bit, so I just unraveled it and redid it to really tuck that loop in. And then you just continue braiding until your natural hair is all braided up, and you can stop here and leave the rest of the braiding hair out. And then later on, we're going to curl the ends, so you don't have to worry about it right now. Just be sure to tie a knot to secure it. And I like to tie it like 3 times to make sure it's really secure. And there you have it. That's the technique to do short braids on longer hair. Now, the good thing is once I got to the top of my hair, I didn't have to fold up the ends anymore, and I could just braid it regularly, which saved me a lot of time. So I'll show you guys how how to start the braid one more time. So I added a little bit of gel first to the roots, and then you can really see here I'm pinching the braiding hair and my natural hair together, and you can see how I use my pointer finger to slide it through the hair and braid the roots down. Then next I'm adding in my little curly piece, making sure that the side with the straight end is shorter. And I only added in one curly piece per braid because I like a light boho look where you can still see most of the braids. But if you want it to be fuller, then you can do thicker pieces or even add 2 to 3 pieces per braid for a really full look. And so then after braiding down a few times to secure that curly piece, I pull out the longer curly end and just continue on with the braid. I also made sure to feed in some small pieces of the braiding hair just to make sure that the braid was nice and even and uniform in size. And then I stopped braiding once I reached the end of my natural hair, and I tied it off with a few knots to secure it. And here I also made sure to thin out the ends with my scissors. Now, this is important so that the curls later on won't be too bulky at the end. I actually think I could have thinned them out a bit more, but it's okay. It still came out fine. And so this is how the single braids looked. It came out super, super cute. And that's a wrap for day one of this hairstyle. I couldn't do it all in one sitting, so I saved the front section for the next day. And so you'll see I put my hair up into some flat twists just to keep it a bit detangled. And now first, of course, I'm going to work on the parting once again. And I actually almost forgot this section of the front is actually going to be single braids instead of having cornrows all the way across the front. By having some single braids on the side, it'll actually make the front look fuller. So I just sectioned this out of the way for now, but just keep in mind you're going to have some more single braids in the front. Then next, I'm mapping out how I want my cornrows to lay. Now, I've never done lemonade braids before, so this was extremely challenging for me. I can't even lie, you guys. But mapping out my cornrows first was really key. And when you're making your parts here, you want to make your cornrows the same thickness or the same width as the single braids in the back, because you don't want your cornrows to look much wider, and you also don't want them to be too small either, because that'll kind of look off and not uniform. And truly, you guys, I was fighting for my life to get my tail comb through my hair here, but I made it work. And I also flat twisted each row to keep it secure. But if you can, I suggest really blow drying your hair as straight as possible, especially at the roots, to make parting your hair easier. Or just make sure that your hair is nice and tangled, and soften it up with some water with leave-in conditioner if you need to, so that you're not fighting for your life like I was fighting here. Also, if you're a beginner, definitely give yourself time to complete your parting and do it first so you can map it all out. And I'll show you exactly why this is important. So when I got to this point, I realized that I actually hated the way that the parts were looking. And so I had to take a break here, and I ended up completely redoing it. But I'm so glad that I decided to do the parts first, because if I had already started braiding my hair, I would have been so mad. So after I took my break, I redid it off camera because I really just had to lock in and focus. But you can see I did the single braids on the side over here as well. And then for the cornrows, I ended up doing 3 rows on the side instead of 2. And then there's 4 cornrows in the front. And don't worry, I'll show it from another angle, but I really liked this pattern a lot better than how I had it before. So now before I started braiding, I added some gel to the roots, and I also sprayed the hair with some water to soften it up. And then I started my cornrow. And when you start your cornrow, you just want to get 3 pieces and start braiding like normal. And then as you move on, you're going to add in tiny pieces of hair to the braid. And so as I was doing it, I really focused on just braiding the first couple of inches without adding in any braiding hair yet, because my hair is pretty thick. So I really didn't have to add in too much braiding hair anyways. I actually only added in 1 small piece here for these braids. And to feed it in, what I'm doing is I just tuck it in between my pointer finger and my thumb. And then each end of that piece gets added into a strand of the braid. And it's honestly kind of similar to when you're just feeding in small pieces of the braiding hair. And I'll be so for real, you guys, this was really challenging. Like, it's one thing to cornrow your hair, but to cornrow it sideways like this is truly very hard. And at this point, I was getting so tired. I swear I almost gave up here. I was ready to give up and just do single braids instead, but I'm not a quitter. So I pushed through and persevered and got it done. So as I was going on, you can see I added in the curly pieces as well, just like I did in the back. And truly, this took me so long because I can be a bit of a perfectionist. And when something doesn't look right, I will stop and redo it, especially if I know I can do a better job. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but if I know I can do a better job, then I will do a better job. But at the same time, after a certain point, I just had to let go of the idea of perfection. You can never really reach perfection. And I just had to settle for good enough. So I know my cornrows aren't perfect, but I'm still proud of the way they came out. Okay, I am not a professional, and I think it still looks great. So I'll stop chatting here and I'll let you guys watch as I finish up the rest of the cornrows, and you can get a really good view from this angle. So I hope this is helpful, and I'll come back when we're almost done. Okay guys, we're almost done. And as normal, I finished off this braid here with a couple of knots to secure it. But of course, once I finished, I was looking at that first cornrow and I just couldn't help but feel like I could do better. So yes, I took it down and redid it. I feel like, I don't know, when you're doing cornrows, I feel like that first one always looks really bad. Like your skills get better as you go on. So I just had to redo this one. I just had to do it. And in the end, what I realized with these cornrows and why I was struggling so much is because I was getting so caught up on that little curve part and I kept messing it up. But the trick is when you start off, don't worry about that curve too much. Just focus on cornrowing straight back like usual. And then once you get to that curve part, just take it nice and slowly and braid small pieces at a time. Also, holding your head to the side like this is helpful too. It makes it more comfortable for your hands. And in the end, my cornrow did come out nicer, so I'm not mad at that. But in the moment, you guys, oh my gosh, my arms were on fire. I was tired. I was over it. Like I truly wanted to cry at this point, but I'm showing you guys this so you can see, even though it is hard, you can do it too. Okay. Trust me, it will be worth it in the end. Take as many breaks as you need to and just do it little by little, but don't give up. Okay. You got it. We can do it. I believe in you, truly. So for the last time here, I fed in a curly piece and also some braiding hair to make sure that the braid was the right size. And then I finished it off with my knots. And once I finished this braid, you guys, my entire mood changed. This look was coming together and I was so happy. I did this hairstyle for my birthday, so this just activated my birthday behavior. I was dancing, having a time, but we're not done yet. We still have the final step, which is to curl the ends. So to start off, I applied mousse all over my hair and all over the ends as well. This is really the best part. It feels so good on your scalp and it'll help to lay everything down. So then next I'm using perm rods to do my curls. And these ones, these little peach colored ones, I think give me the perfect curls for this style. So what I'm doing is I'm clipping the curly pieces out of the way. And then all I'm doing is just wrapping the ends of the braids all around the perm rods like this. And then you just snap it closed to secure it. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're only doing at most 2 braids per perm rod. Otherwise, it's going to be too bulky and it won't really curl properly. You could even do 1 perm rod per braid, but I didn't have enough for all that. So I'm just doing 2 braids per perm rod. And I'm clipping away the curly pieces because I don't want to dip them in the hot water and risk ruining the curls. So just be mindful of that. Although honestly, I think it would be fine either way. I think I've done this hairstyle before and I didn't clip the hair out of the way and it was fine. But if you don't want to risk it, just clip the curls out of the way and only dip the braiding hair. And this is what it was looking like with the perm rods. And I was feeling it because I could see the look coming together. I felt so cute even with the perm rods here. But next, I just dipped my hair into the hot water. And you need to be very, 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 very careful here because you have to dip your hair kind of close to your scalp. So you may need to tilt your head like I'm doing it here to really get the hair into the water. But please be careful because the steam from the hot water might burn your scalp. So please be careful. Get some help if you need to. And then when I was done, I just went to bed and let the curls dry overnight. You don't have to do that. You could just blow dry it or wait a couple hours to make sure it's dry. Just make sure that it's completely cooled down before you take it down. Otherwise, the curls might not set and they'll start to drop. So I always just take it down the next day. That works for me. But as I was taking them down, I was in a rush. I don't know why I'm always in a rush when I'm taking out my perm rods. Don't be in a rush. Take your time and separate the braids from one another. But once you take out the perm rods, all that's left to do is to cut the hair into the shape that you desire. So at first, I wasn't really cutting it that short because I was scared of messing it up. So I did kind of a long bob at first, but I realized the look I was going for was a lot shorter. So here I went in section section by section to make sure everything was nice and even. So I started with the back and I made it really short, like right around my collarbone. But just be careful here because remember, we folded up our natural hair into the braids, right? So make sure you're not cutting it past the braid where your hair is. I had no issues with my hair getting cut or damaged with this hairstyle. So there really shouldn't be any issues, but just be careful that you're not cutting it up past that braid. And so I just went section by section and I matched it to the length of the back to give it that bob shape. And I'll let you guys watch as I cut and shape it here. And this is how it came out, you guys. It was absolutely perfect to me. This is exactly what I was envisioning. And we are officially done. This was a long process. And of course, I'm going to come back with a little bit of makeup to show you guys the final look. So here is the final result, you guys. I truly think this is the perfect style for the summertime. Like I said, this was a hairstyle for my birthday and nobody can tell me that I didn't eat this up. Okay, I ate this up. I am so proud of how this style came out and all the work I put into creating this video too. So I really hope this tutorial was helpful for somebody out there. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you desire. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.